Unnati, I have some kind of the general questions since you have got a perfect 45 point. So these are some of the general questions which is related to entire 2 years of it. So what tips and tricks can student use to stay motivated when studying for the IB?
I'm not sure there's like a magical way for this to happen, really. It's a continuous process, and I think it stems from the inside. What I think is really important in staying motivated, particularly, is to surround yourself with the right people who encourage you to be the best version of yourself, and they'll honestly make sure you're always motivated. The IB is also a lot of high pressure, so when you have these people, you have people you can speak to when you're tense, to feel worried as well, which is extremely important. I also sometimes study with friends, which I think did a lot for my motivation. So a friend of mine and I, we studied 5 out of 6 of our subjects together. Just there was one subject we didn't study together because we don't have it in common. And we made each other read all of our E and TOK drafts, even though we had different topics, different subjects. But I think that also kept me motivated, just studying with a friend who was in the same boat. So studying just naturally became fun instead of being a task. We've had like 12-hour-long Zoom calls, which I obviously don't recommend, but I think they were great in keeping the both of us motivated. Besides that, I think it's also important for you to have big goals. When you have goals that you need to consciously work towards, you'll end up being motivated anyway.
Brilliant. So listeners, getting a perfect friend, it's a very important to get a perfect 45 points. So Unnati, what strategy did you use on final exam to score 45 points?
I always tell people this. I did not study that hard for my final exams. I actually think I studied harder for my second trials and my second set of mock exams that I did for my final papers. And I think my mock exams were just a month apart. Not even a month, it was like 20 days. And I think I was burnt out till the time I got to my final exam. But I think this in itself was my key strategy to doing well, just being consistent and taking school seriously. A lot of people have this notion that they'll exclusively only study for the final exams, they'll do well, but that rarely is fruitful since you're not able to recall that much. You don't end up getting the right feedback from your teachers either. They're not able to make a good judgment on your progress and position to guide you in the correct manner. Honestly, I think if you take school seriously, you'll be fine. Go to classes, pay attention, study for exams. There's no other really science to it.
Perfect. So now you got a 45 point. The entire Delhi NCR school, everyone is talking about it. So Unnati, can you tell how will scoring the 45 point help you in your real life after school?
I'm not sure yet because my life after school still hasn't started. I'm a little less than a month before I jet off to university. But I think the IB has definitely imbibed good study habits and taught me how I learn, which I think will be helpful after school so I get into the rigor of university. So yeah.
Good. So what do you think you did differently that helped you achieve the perfect score?
I don't know. I don't know what I did differently, but I think, like I said, consistency is really key. Just showing up also helps. I think if you pay attention in classes, it does help. You don't spend time outside of classes then just doing the content itself. So I think that helps. And I think it was because I think throughout my high school journey, I have been fairly consistent. So as a result of that, over the last 4 years, I've understood, even when I was talking about the MYP, I've understood how I study, how I learn things, which I think is very important. I know what works and what doesn't, for me at least. So I think that is very important. I don't tend to waste time on things that won't work. And I think also like seeking out a variety of resources when I didn't understand things is pretty important. Like if I don't, plus I had all my important, and it so happens that a lot of times in STEM you don't understand things. So I think just like seeking out the variety of resources that you have is I think is something that helped me.
Very good. Classroom attention plays a very important.
Very important. Yeah.
So Unnati, what challenges did you overcome during your DP course? Can you name any 1 or 2 challenges to all of us?
I think it's the standard for every single IB student out there. I think it's just lack of like motivation because the IB is really long and there's a lot of things to do. So I think just lack of motivation or lack of understanding. I think it's only one of those 2 things. Once you overcome that, it's fine. These things are also what seep into your mental health. So I think
Brilliant. So Unnati, in the school I have asked 40 students a question to ask to you, and then out of 40, 39 students have written this one question which I'm going to ask. So what does your study plan look like for an IB exam or school exam, or what did your study plan look like?
I think it really varied according to the subjects. So for math, for example, my study plan was always practice, which honestly happened I think almost every day for at least an hour. Before I went to bed, I did like an hour of math and that worked. This is something that we keep getting told as kids, that like practice makes a man perfect, but it actually works. If you practice math, you will get it. For more content heavy subjects, like there was science, there was physics, chemistry, and economics. I think besides my teachers, when I didn't understand something, YouTube was really my best friend. Once I understood concepts, I jumped to doing questions, and then I think my study plan is not that elaborate. It really just consisted of doing past papers and questions and making sure I actually completely understood all of the content, which is something that people miss out on. They understand some content, they're like, okay, yeah, that worked. But yeah, understanding all of the content. And English and Spanish, I would also say, came with practice and just being there in class. So my study plan for these subjects was also practice. I think mostly it was just practice and understanding content. I think for subjects besides, for example, sciences and economics, I did not spend a lot of time going over content again and again at home, because I made sure to understand the content in class and come home and practice instead. So yeah, my study plan was really not that elaborate. It just consisted of like going over like types of questions that the IB asks, understanding what they want. I think that in itself is pretty important.
Fantastic. Understanding the past paper and the content plays and very important. So Unnathi, how did your IA help to get a 7 in all the subject? What is your view about the IAs?
I think your IA more so is an aspect of relief when you're going into your IB exam, right? I think at least getting a 7, because even if you don't do well on a particular paper and you're like, okay, wait, now I don't know what's gonna happen, your IA is something that can pull your grade up. And I really went in with that kind of an ideology. I was like, I have to do well on, and plus we were in the middle of COVID, right? So we didn't know what if exams didn't happen. So I think in that sense it's pretty important to do the IAs. But besides that, I think it pulls your grade up, and I think it also, and I think all of the teachers say this, an IA makes a difference between a 6 and a 7. So I think it just depends on that. Sometimes you're almost getting a 7 and you don't because of your IA. So I think, at least for me, I think my IA was something that gave me relief during the paper. So yeah.
So Unnathi, 2 tips for DP student that they need to follow in the school to get a 7 PG in all the subjects.
I think number 1 is, like I said, classroom attention and things like that. So just like take school exams seriously, because yeah, I think they do matter, at least with your PG and things like that. And they also prepare you for the final exams. So I think that's important. And besides that, have your teachers know the amount of effort that you're putting into their subject. They're probably teaching 20-30 kids, and it's important that you make yourself a little distinct and you let them know that you're genuinely committed to the subject. I think that also matters.
Genuinely committed to a subject. I totally agree. So I want to hear your opinion. What mistake does a student need to avoid in DP 1 and 2? It is not in subject, okay, not TOK, actually in general. What is the 2 mistake a student should avoid?
I think number 1 is make sure you understand things. You understand things from math and sciences and economics and things like that. I mean, those are my subjects. Because if you don't, and you say, okay, I'm going to understand this later, I'm going to understand when exams come up, what will happen is they will all pile up for you to understand later. And a lot of times, at least with STEM, right, topics are interrelated. So if you don't understand one thing, you don't understand the next thing. So I think that is a mistake students need to avoid. Just make sure you understand things on the spot, unless otherwise it might have a ripple effect and it might negatively affect things that happen later. So that's pretty important. And another mistake, I think, I think my biggest tip is just to take school seriously. It all falls into place. Otherwise, I think the school itself does a lot for you to do well. And I think if you sort of, the school can only help you if you want to be helped. And I think if you let them help you, I think you'll be fine.
Yes, every DP student should take school very serious. So Unnathi, we have last couple of questions. Taking a 45, definitely you must have lot of stress from your side, parents, from the school. So genuinely, how did you deal with your stress, especially from your personal experiences?
I think taking breaks is very important. It's underrated, but breaks do a lot for you. Like if I felt like, there were times where I was sitting in my laptop for like 6 hours straight now studying. And after one point, as much as I read, none of the lines in my textbook made any sense to me. That moment, I would just get up and I'd go take like a 1 hour long walk and come back. And I think just taking those kinds of breaks is very important. I think also it's important to have your own life outside of work. Because obviously work is a part of life. Studying is a part of life. It's not your whole life. And I think it's important to have your own life besides that. Might as well just like watch something, talk to someone about something else. Also, I think it's important to have a confidant or someone you can talk to if you feel like you can't take it. And I think something that I did, which I don't know if it works for everybody, sometimes what I would do is if I felt like I just couldn't do things anymore, I would just take a day off and leave and just not do anything that day. And I think the next day I was a little more rejuvenated to get things done. So yeah, I think that those are things that work for me. But I think the key is just to take breaks and make sure that you're able to segment your life appropriately.
Brilliant. That's a fantastic. Even I'm going to follow. My last question, Unnati. 2 tips for writing a good college application for DP students.
I think I can obviously speak better to the US college application process. So I think number one is to be honest and to be genuine in your approach to college applications, because yeah, I think you write these college essays and people can discern when you're being genuine and when you're not being genuine, when you're doing something to present yourself in a certain manner. If a college even accepts you for for an image that you've crafted, that means you most likely will not be able to fit in. So I think being able to present yourself in a genuine manner work well, that's something. And I think besides that, I think it's important to be aware of what's going on. Be aware of your competition, know what other people are doing and try to stand out, because I think the US college application process is competitive and it has so many aspects. It has, extracurriculars, it has essays, it has, grades and all these things. So it's important for you to know what other people are also doing and where you stand and how you can make yourself stand out. I think in the college application process, we talk a lot about what's called a spike. So I think you need to be aware and try to find that spike for yourself.
Fantastic. Unnati, it's a brilliant conversation with you about your success, and all your experience will be a lesson for many DP students who want to achieve the perfect 45 points. Unnati, your final words before you thank to our listeners.
I think it's a pleasure being here, and I hope that my experiences are useful to the listeners and other DP students. So I think, that's about it. Wishing you all best of luck.
Thank you for listening to Gurumantra podcast with your host Guruchan Kumar. I hope you enjoy our deep dive with Unnati into all the tips and tricks about IB, TOK and Extend Essay. If you enjoyed this episode and we would like help you to support the podcast, please share it with others and post about it on the social media page or leave a rating. And thank you, Unnati, taking your valuable time coming to the Gurumantra podcast.